Welcome back, everybody. We have a rainy summer evening out here, but today we're going over the pistol that you see in my hand and that you saw throughout the intro. That is this little guy here. This is the Taurus GX4. It's sort of like a double stack micro compact. There's a lot of competitive options out there, at least in 2021 anyway, for these types of pistols. Taurus brings some different options than some of the competitors, but of course the biggest difference, as you can imagine, with a Taurus is going to be the price point. So on these ones here, the MSRP is under $400. So the big question is it reliable? Is it accurate? Does it work? How are the ergonomics? All of those sorts of things. And are they competitive with the more expensive options like the P365, the Shield Plus, the Springfield model, the Ruger model, etc.? I don't have all of them, but I have some of them. And I do have this one, and we have just under 1,000 rounds through it at this point. So I think I can speak with some decent knowledge base and experience behind it in terms of how it's performed. But with that, let's get up close and personal and kind of look through the details, compare it to some other guns, and then at the end we'll go over how it's performed and what I think of it. Before we get into those details, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that sponsor is Gunspot. So for folks who are unaware of gunspot.com, it is an online auction site where you can register. It takes like 2 seconds to do, and you can instantly begin bidding on firearms related goods, and you can also start selling them. So you can sign up either as a buyer or as a seller, or both, and start participating in the website and the online auctions that are there. I just checked that they do have some of the GX4s up for auction currently, at least as of when I'm recording this video, and it's just a great place to find stuff that is either, you know, very competitively priced, because obviously the market is sorting it out through the auction process, or there's some hard to find stuff there, and like I said, it's not just firearms, it's anything firearms related. If you want extra magazines, optics, NFA items, all of those sorts of things, you can purchase them over there. Again, thanks to Gunspot. Now, let's get into those details. In terms of the details on the pistol, we'll start here at the bottom and sort of work our way up. To do so, we're gonna have to clear the pistol first, and that is going to be to drop the magazine and then push up here on our slide stock and slide release. And the pistol is empty. And first off, we'll go over the magazines, which are excellent. They're flush fit, 11+1 rounds. As you can see, it's that double stack tapering into a single stack feeding system. That's how they're able to get 12 rounds into such a small package that we do have here. Magazines are made by Mekgar, which is a very smart move by the folks over at Taurus. Mekgar makes some of the, if not the best magazines in the industry, and if your magazines don't work, then your gun won't work. So using Mekgar is smart. They offer an extended base plate version of this, so it will give you 13+1 rounds. I do not have them, but they are out there if you guys want to purchase them. And in terms of fitment, when they go in there, I have large hands, and I get about a quarter of my pinky, I guess you could say, on there. So when I'm actually firing, the pinky is underneath it, but there's a little bit of room in there. One thing I do like is it does have these cuts here, so that way if you do have a double feed, you can rip that magazine out. It gives you a little bit of traction on there, so I do dig that feature for sure. One thing that's different from this pistol versus a lot of the other competitive options out there is it actually has a large backstrap option, which is what I do have on there. Again, like I mentioned, I have large hands, so I do like the larger backstrap. Fits excellent. It's very, very ergonomic to me. And to do so, you just drive that roll pin out and then swap it. It just slides right up in there, and it gives you a little bit larger area to purchase, which I do like because it gives my support hand a little bit of room to work in there on the pistol. Now, in terms of the actual texturing on there, basically there's two different textures. So we have the texturing here on the sides, which is a little bit less aggressive, and then the texture on the front and the rear strap of the grip is more aggressive, which is smart. Again, the reason for that is the pistol recoils like this. So that's where the most friction is, and that's where you want the most amount of traction. And some folks don't like aggressive grips, especially if they're carrying inside the waistband, because they say it irritates their skin or their clothing, whatever the case may be. This is definitely not going to irritate anything. As I've said many times on the channel, I prefer a really aggressive grip in terms of texture, and to me, it's fine. I would like it a little bit more aggressive, but I am an outlier on that. I would imagine most folks are going to find that texture pretty much perfect. You can see here under the trigger guard, we have a slight undercut. I would like it to be a little bit more, but I get why it's not. The trigger guard itself is enlarged, so that way if you're carrying in wintertime, wearing gloves, anything like that, you're probably not going to have an issue with most gloves. If you've got some heavy winter gloves on though, it might still be a little bit too small for you. The magazine release One thing I like about it that's nice, it's not ambidextrous. I do like that. I do not prefer ambidextrous mag releases. Reason for that, for folks that don't know, if it's on this side and I'm carrying inside the waistband and I lean against the wall or whatever the case may be, you can accidentally cause that mag to be released, which is not what you want when you don't expect it. But one thing that's cool about the grip is that basically they built this little ledge here into there, so that way basically if you were leaning against the wall, it still wouldn't depress it. You have to hit the actual button itself, but it's not going to snag on anything like that. So I do like that. You can reverse it though, and as you can see here, the magazines are cut for either side. So if you're lefty and you want to move it over to the left, or rather the right side of the pistol, you can do so. For a small gun, it has a relatively high beaver tail. So if you have huge hands, you may get slide bite on there, but I haven't experienced it at all. And again, you can see kind of even my hand webbing is going up in there with that high tang grip. Our slide release slide lock, once again, is not ambidextrous. And just like the magazine, it's well thought out in that it has the polymer shroud around there. So again, folks like me who shoot with a high thumbs grip, on some guns, we will accidentally get false slide lock from those thumbs being up there, accidentally bumping into this. Has never happened on this pistol. So again, I think it's well thought out and they did their homework with this one. And that's just another example of it. The trigger itself is has rather that safety mechanism on there. So if you don't push that portion right there and you just pull back on the outside of the trigger, it will not fire. You need to depress that trigger safety, and to do so, it will fire, or rather when you do so, excuse me. Point in a safe direction, of course, and we're just gonna take the uptake out of it, and that's it. There's very little uptake, just that little bit, and then you're at the wall right here, and it's breaking right around 6 pounds on my Lyman trigger gauge, but it's very crisp, and as you can see, the reset, it's tactile. It's not super audible, but you know you're there. It's right there, and then you're at the wall again. So it's got a sort of a long over travel, but there's just not a lot of movement to it. I like it. I have zero issues with it. To me, it feels like a Glock, but it just breaks at a very different point than the Glock, and it's crisper than most Glocks. And of course, a lot of folks are going to like that flatter trigger shoot as well. Continuing forward there on the frame, the trigger guard does have that squared off feature to it. So for folks who like to put your finger up front to get leverage on it, if that's you, hey, it'll work really well. Up under there, we have some Taurus markings on there, basically the import markings. This pistol is, the material itself is made in Brazil, but it's all assembled in America. Obviously, we do not have any way to mount a light or any rail or anything like that up there. That said, I would imagine there's going to be some sort of aftermarket company that makes something that mounts the trigger guard. That tends to happen with all of these pistols if they become popular enough. So it certainly could be an option in the future, but right now it is not. We have, this is our takedown lever. We'll get to that here in just a second. But continuing on up to the slide, it is a carbon steel slide and it is nitride finish. So the nitride is going to give you good corrosion resistance, wear resistance, and just good surface hardness as well. You guys can see there that we have worn it a little bit, but again, that's not actually damaging the steel in any sort of way. That nitride finish goes below what you can actually see and deeper into the material than that. We do have these front serrations if you guys want to do press checks and those sorts of things. We have our loaded chamber indicator there on the barrel, and our rear serrations are very easy to use. There's nothing wrong with them at all. They're not too aggressive. They're not, unusable. And the actual sights that come with the pistol are very good, in my opinion, for non-aftermarket sights. They're really good. They're cut for Glock cutouts, so any of your Glock aftermarket sights will fit in there, but the rear has that serrated square notch, which I do dig, and it's plain, so that way it allows you to, as a shooter, very easily pick up that front sight, just a standard white dot front sight. And again, I've had zero issues with them at all. And unlike Glock, they're actually metal sights, so they're not going to fly off your pistol when you don't want them to. So there is that. To disassemble the pistol, basically you want to make sure that it is unloaded, which of course it is. Point in a safe direction, pull the trigger, and then at this point we're just going to rotate this tab here 90 degrees counterclockwise. You can see that slide pops forward. At this point you can pull it right off of there. And interestingly enough, on this pistol, it has a ton of steel in here in terms of the frame. But typically when you see that, it's so that you can actually go from using the same frame to a 40 caliber pistol, but since they have a carbon slide, I assume they have zero plans of going to 40. So it's just kind of an interesting, for gun nerds out there, you guys might pick up on that. It's an interesting combo though, for sure. We have it all steel guide rod there and spring, and then our barrel has a nice wide feed lip there, so that way feeding hollow points, things like that, should not be of any issue. And you can see in there on the slide, there's no consequential chatter marks, anything like that. Everything appears to be well made, and putting it back together, of course, is the same, just in the opposite order. With the clouds overhead, we are losing light quickly, so we're going to try to wrap it up here and do a quick size comparison to a few pistols that you may have or have seen. So, of course, we have the LCP2 here. It's a single stack 380, really small pistol out there, and obviously it is much smaller, but again, it's in a different category. This is a single stack, and it's also in 380, but that will give you an idea in terms of how they compare size-wise. We have our Shield Plus, which is same category, sort of double single stack gun, with a very similar capacity to it. You guys can see if we line the slides up, it's a little bit longer there on that M&P, and the width wise is going to be very similar with the actual length. If we line the slides up there, it's a little bit of an edge to the Taurus in terms of being shorter than that. And then we have our Glock 48 here. Obviously, the Glock 48 is the long slide version versus the 43X, but it's still longer in the grip as well. And this, with the factory mag, is going to hold less ammunition as well. We have our Kimber Mako here with the extended mag, 13-round mag. They do make a flush fit as well. But just to give you an idea, again, it's a little bit longer there than the GX4 is. In terms of width, very close, and with the flush fit mag, again, would be very close in terms of length as well. And then for folks, again, different category, this is a single stack 9mm, but the 43, you can see there it is thinner, of course, being single stack, but a little bit longer there in the nose. And then in terms of the actual width, obviously the 43 is going to be smaller, but in terms of height, very similar. I think we've covered most of the details of the pistol itself at this point. A few things to discuss that we haven't yet: accuracy, reliability, price point. So accuracy, in terms of these Micro 9s, one thing that you have to understand when picking one up is that you're just not going to be as practically accurate or as fast with something like this than you would be with a full-size pistol. It's just not the case. The recoil is a little sharper. It takes a little bit more time to get back on target. Now the mechanical accuracy of it is just the same, but the practical from the shooter's perspective, you're going to lose a little bit. But this pistol's been just as accurate as any of the other Micro 9s out there that I've shot, the Glock 43X, the P365, etc. If I do my job as a shooter within 25 yards and in, I should be able to hit just about anything that's going to be a threat-sized target with ease, assuming, again, I do my job as the shooter. And that was the case with this gun. Noticed no accuracy issues with it at all. The actual reliability of it, like I said, just under 1,000 rounds through the pistol right now, thanks to our good folks at Minuteman Munitions. I do appreciate that. And this gun has had zero malfunctions of any kind. The majority of it has been 115 grain full metal jacket, but we also ran some HSTs and gold dots. The HSTs were 124 grain plus P, and the gold dots were 147 grain G2. And again, zero malfunctions of any kind. It's fed everything. And that is, of course, not always historically been the case here on the channel with Taurus. So we've had some Tauruses in the past that didn't run all that well. Looking around the internet, I haven't seen bad reports on this gun, so it seems that this one is kind of in line with the other ones that other folks out there have. And full disclosure, Taurus did send this out for the review. I did request it, but they did send it out. And just like other guns they sent out in the past, I always tell you the truth. They sent out ones that I've come right here before you and told you they didn't work. This one has worked perfectly fine. Price point on this one, like I said, that sort of is the differentiating factor versus most of the competitive options out there. Like I said, MSRP is under $400. Looking around right before making this video, the cheapest I could find it was $319. Now keep in mind, I'm filming this in late September 2021, and the gun market is insane right now, and nobody can keep anything in stock. And so in the future, that price may go down, but as of right now, that's a good price on this pistol. What do I think of it overall? I think it's a good gun. If it had, obviously, like I just mentioned, Taurus has had some issues over the years, right? They're not Smith & Wesson, they're not Glock, although Glock has had some issues over the years. So if this pistol had a different brand on it, they could get away with selling it at $500, and they would sell just as many, if not more. So I think there's a lot of value there. Now, again, this isn't a long-term durability test. That said, I don't think many people who buy these guns are going to put more than 1,000 to 2,000 rounds through them ever, right? These are guns that most folks are going to carry a lot, shoot a little bit. Not the way it should be, but that's the reality of the situation. But, you know, it's a new gun as of 2021. Hopefully down the road, as we get more rounds through it, more data throughout the shooting community, then, you know, we can paint a better picture there of the gun. I think they were smart in all of the design aspects of it. Some folks may not like the takedown, but I don't really care. It's not a big deal. I like the Glock sights. The ergonomics are great. The trigger is very good for a gun of this size. So at least as of right now, I'm going to say it's a winner. If you guys have any questions, you can always post those down below in the comment section. You can also post those at any of my social media that you see here on your screen. If you guys are subscribed, thank you. If you're not subscribed, you like this type of video, typically it's not as dark, but those are the conditions tonight. Please hit the subscribe button. If you have done that and hit the notification bell and you're still not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, you can sign up for my email list here that you see at the website rather on your screen, and that only sends out once or twice a month max all of the videos since the last email went out, so that way there's no social media giant or algorithm censoring your eyes from my content. And then additionally, if this thing goes on sale or we find a good deal on some Glock sites that can go in there, those 13-round magazines, you can sign up for my daily deals email at the website here on your screen, and we will send that out once a day, as the name indicates, with all of the best deals that we find around the internet. Saves you guys some time because I do the looking for you and price comparisons and all of those sorts of things. And that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I truly appreciate it. I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.